40th millennium, there is only war. For 10,000 years, the galaxy has bled. Empires rise and fall, their ruins crushed beneath the boot heels of billions, marching to their beat, marching to their death. Over the blood-stained battlefields of the Imperium, two figures loom large. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗧𝗵𝗲, the prophet of the war, and Commissar Sebastian Yarrick, the steel watchman of Armageddon. Armageddon, a name cursed by billions, a world whose ceramite skies are choked with ash. Her grounds run red with the blood of the nameless hordes on this accursed planet. The destinies of 𝗧𝗵𝗲 and Yarrick intertwined. An orc warlord with dreams so vast they could blot out the stars, and a man whose iron will remains unbroken by the ceaseless horrors of a galaxy at war. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, a name spoken with equal parts terror and awe. From the moment of his ascension, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 saw what no other orc could see, a vision of unity, of a war so vast it would drown the galaxy in war. 𝗪𝗲𝗃, an orc runt herd, once regaled two youths of the breadth of 𝗧𝗵𝗲's accolades.
The beast of Armageddon, the conqueror of Pesina, Golgotha, and lots of other places besides. The great prophet, the big green, the gothiest goth, the stabbiest stabber, the fightiest, hardest warlord what was ever been ever. And that is a very long time.
But 𝗧𝗵𝗲 is more than just a brute. He is as brutal as Gork, but he is as cunning as Mork, a tactician whose victories have shattered worlds. Sebastian Yarrick. To the citizens of Armageddon, he is the indomitable bulwark against annihilation, an embodiment of the Emperor's golden wrath. But to the orcs, he is something few humans can claim. The orcs whisper his name as a talisman of fear, as a token of respect, as the human with the claw. The feat that cemented his moniker is one of the greatest examples of Yarrick's adamantine fervor. As the second war for Armageddon raged on, having just lost his arm in a duel with the orc war boss 𝗏𝗏𝗏, Yarrick proceeded to relieve the orc filth of its cranium before sawing off the power claw from the decapitated corpse. Holding it high, he screamed to the orcish horde,
"Light for light? Which part are you willing to give me?"
And the orc morale shattered. Yarrick's strength lies not in physical might, but in the unbreakable steel of his spirit. Time and again, he has turned back the tide of destruction, defiant against the unrelenting wave of savagery crested by 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Their conflict is more than a mere clash of men and materiel. It is a battle of wills, a duel fought not just with weapons but ideals. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 seeks to engulf the galaxy in the fires of his war. He seeks to unify orc kind underneath destruction, and Yarrick fights to preserve what little remains of humanity's fragile bastions against the night. Few conflicts since the Great Crusade have reached a scale comparable to those between 열ek and 𝗧𝗵𝗲. At the onset of the Third War, it is believed some 50,000 Astartes across 25 chapters were active in the Armageddon subsystem. They were accompanied by in excess of 1.5 million Astra Militarum personnel. In contrast, while the exact number is lost to the annals of eternity, it is believed that well over 4 million orcs were landed on Armageddon by Ghazghkull throughout the conflict. More than just a tale of Xenos filth wiped clean by Imperial metal, it is a story of rivals bound by fate, of grudging respect forged in the crucible of war. The galaxy burns, and amidst the flames, two titans prepare to collide. The Second War for Armageddon, a conflict that would forever scar the Imperium and carve the names of Ghazghkull, 𝗧𝗏, and Sebastian 열ek into history. You see, for Ghazghkull, it was the ultimate proving ground. Armageddon, a planet of industry, wealth, and war. It was the prize his wog demanded. Ghazghkull, a tactical visionary for an orc, divided his forces underneath the strongest bosses he'd subjugated before leaving Urk. The Space Hulk world killer crashed down into Armageddon Prime, belching endless waves of the green tide. But the orcs would not go unopposed. Standing amidst the fire and ruin was Commissar Sebastian 열ek. For the defenders of Armageddon, he became a symbol of resistance. Once, when he was taken captive by the orcs, chained and suspended over a cavernous drop amidst their ship, 열ek stared Ghazghkull in the eye, spitting defiance. "I will kill you. I make you that promise." And Ghazghkull taunted him in turn.
"You ain't so tough after all, is you?"
Where 𝗧𝗏 brought chaos, 열ek brought order. Where the orc hordes sowed fear, 열ek inspired hope. This was no ordinary campaign, it was personal. There was something to be proved. During the siege of 𝗪𝗻𝗄𝗄, Yerek's resolve was tested like never before. His presence a beacon for the beleaguered forces of humanity. He was a constant thorn in the side of Ghazghkull's wall. And make no mistake, Ghazghkull too had his moments of triumph. For the orcs, war is life, and 𝗧𝗏 delivered it in abundance. To him, the Imperium's stubborn resistance only made the fight more glorious. Ghazghkull deployed all of the cunning tactics he could bring to bear. Lightning assaults, massed bombardment, overwhelming frontal strikes. He displayed his ability as an effective commander, but also his prowess as a dedicated strategist, seeking without rest to take the Hive at all costs. The great Hive resisted long, inspired by the success of their brothers, but what ultimately broke the siege. Ghazghkull had a novel idea and gathered together all of his weird boys. United, they conjured a psychic storm that struck the city. The defenders, overwhelmed with madness, drowned beneath the green tide, but not before effectively evacuating a large portion of the population. ภิand 𝗧𝗵𝗲's first clash was inevitable. Amid the chaos, the two of them careened together, not just as generals, but as titans of war. Ghazghul moved personally to direct the siege of Hades' He tried to deploy all of his winning ways from Hell's Reach, but where the strikes had been hammer blows, battering the human defenders before, underneath the unwavering command of Commissar ภิ, Hades' desperately held where no other could. Each move, each counter, escalated their rivalry. Armageddon became their crucible, the planet groaning under the weight of their conflict, as if it too were a victim of their unyielding determination. The conflict was ultimately broken by the arrival of Dante and the Blood Angels, or as 𝗪𝗚𝗏 best put it,
Some beaky kid showed up, spoiled all the fun. Old Ghazghul's had enough, so he goes away.
This was no longer just a war of territory and survival. It was a collision of destinies. The Prophet of the Wall and the Steel Watchman. The Third War for Armageddon. 57 years to the day upon which the Second War began, the galaxy's greenest warlord and its most unyielding defender met once more. For Ghazghul, it was not merely a war, it was his art. His wall swept Armageddon like a verdant wave, a level of unity never before displayed by the Orcish hordes. Ghazghul united countless clans and contingents of at least 3 separate Orc empires. Under his banners were such warlords as the great despot of Dregruk, Urgok the Unstoppable, and the Overfiend of Octarius. Yet among all the heads to be taken at Armageddon, Ghazghul found himself drawn to one foe above all others, the human with the claw. 𝗧𝗏𝗲 is also said to have shown perhaps one of the greatest examples of respect between an orc and a human being. After capturing Commissar ภิ during the battle for Golgotha, Ghazghul went on to release ภิ, telling the gnarled commissary,
A great fight, my best enemy. Go to Armageddon, make ready for the greatest fight.
Sebastian ภิ's determination had become legend. Against impossible odds, he held the line, his presence a defiance against despair. One of the greatest examples of ภิ's unwavering resolve came during that daring defense on Golgotha.
Warriors of the Imperium, tomorrow will be our day of days, for we shall have rejoined the Emperor in glory at the Golden Throne. Tonight is our night of nights, for it is now, in these very moments, that we earn the glory that will carry us to the throne. The Greenskins outnumber us. They laugh that we have nowhere to go. They think they are triumphant. Show them that they are wrong. Show them that they have nothing to celebrate. Show them that they are trapped on this planet with a foe who will never leave. Teach them what triumph really means.
Yet, in the quiet moments before battles, even he couldn't deny the magnitude of the foe he faced. When being released from captivity, upon hearing Ghazghul speak to him in perfect High Gothic, ภิ thought to himself, there can be no greater threat to the Imperium than this orc. The battlefield became a game of wits and wills. 𝗧𝗏𝗲's warband struck like lightning, but ภิ wielded his forces with surgical precision. Each anticipated the other's moves with uncanny foresight, as though their minds were locked in an endless duel. As ever, the Orcish horde vastly outnumbered the Imperial defenders, with some estimating that the initial Orc fleet numbered 6 ships for every one the Imperium could muster. Kill cruisers ran kamikaze death runs against the Navus Imperialis blockade, and despite the valiant efforts of the puissant Imperial pilots, they were quickly overwhelmed. A shock new tactic was employed by Ghazghkull, bringing to bear the might of his rocks. Spaceships made of hollowed asteroids, horrifically slow but incredible mobile fortresses. 6 weeks after the initial planetfall of Armageddon, Ghazghkull bombarded the planet with hundreds of rocks, each strike as likely to kill the orcs aboard as not, but there were more than enough that successfully landed to riddle the continents of Armageddon with countless orcish strongholds. This was no ordinary battle, it was a test of endurance, of conviction. Thraka's brute strength and new thinking met Yarrik's unyielding resolve. Blow after blow, they fought as gods, shaping the land beneath their fury. Through the combined sacrifices of countless Astra Militarum troops and thousands of the Adeptus Astartes, the Orcish invasion was held at bay just long enough to bore Ghazghkull into abandonment. But while the Imperium claimed this as a victory, it was a veil worn thin. It's whispered by some that Ghazghkull, convalescing after having a hole blown through his chest by a Leman Russ battle tank, was visited by another vision from Gork or Mork. He was failing them. He had lingered too long at the big scrap, and it was time for him to launch the Great War. Even though Thraka has departed, the Orcish presence on Armageddon grows daily, legendary among the greenskins as a veritable gold mine of inexhaustible pugilism. For Yarrik, the encounter was a turning point. He had glimpsed not just the mind of a warlord, but the heart of a rival. Their conflict was no longer merely survival, it was purpose. Even after Thraka quit the planet, it is known that Yarrik, alongside a contingent of a Black Templar's crusade, cornered Ghazghkull again at the Battle of the Haunted Gulf, only for Thraka to slip from the clutches of his claw once more. A story of respect, forged in battle, rivalry tempered by war. In the endless crucible that was Armageddon, Thraka and Yarrik found not allies but equals, destined to clash, until war itself consumed them both.